What up everybody, it's your girl July from Kickback Couture. Today, I would like to show you how to get started in using the Reason Rack. I'm going to be in Ableton Live, but these tips and this overall walkthrough will apply no matter which DAW you're using. Let's get started. I'm gonna create an instance of the Reason Rack plugin. Here we'll notice a few things I would like to point your attention to, and the first will be the rack. This is the biggest section. This is where you're going to create your instruments and your effects and everything else. Over to the right, over here we have a tutorial section, and over here to the left we have the browser. This is where you'll find more devices if you download any more rack extensions or purchase. You'll also find your samples in this area. Here are the effects devices, the utility devices, and the players. Now this will look different depending on which version of Reason you have. We also have some presets and samples we can access here. If you get any rack extensions, all of the presets will populate in this area, and right now you see all of the additional rack plugin preset folders that I have in this area. Leaving the browser for a minute, let's go into our settings, which is at the top right corner here. You'll see a variety of options that you can change that do exactly what they say they do. For example, open with browser shown will open the Reason Rack plugin with this browser open instead of closed. Another thing I would like to point your attention to is the theme option here. Mine is dark. If you notice that yours looks different than mine, this is probably why. There's a blue option as well, and the default is going to be a light gray color. In order for this to go into effect, it requires a restart. So you need to restart your entire DAW for this to work. So I would close Ableton and restart it for the Reason Rack to change colors. If you purchase any rack extensions or you would like to download any of the free ones, you can click over here in this area, go to shop, and it'll take you to the Reason Studio shop where you can purchase more devices. Any additional content that you may not have, like the extra sound libraries or some extra instruments, it will be here and buttons will populate for you to download those. If you have any immediate questions, you can click here, download the manuals and find what you're looking for, or you can go here to online help. That will conclude what I want to go over in the settings section. You can look at it as much as you want to if you would like more information. Let's make some noise. I'm gonna double click on this Kong Drum Designer. And I would like to change these sounds, so we can click on this folder here and it'll open up our browser, and I can choose a different kit. If for some reason this does not show up, you can also find it by going into Factory Sounds after you open your browser here, and you'll navigate to where you see the name of your device. This is Kong, so Kong patches are here. Let's program a pattern. So we can click here and add a device, or we can go back into the browser. Let's go into the browser again, and we'll add a drum sequencer. Now using this drum sequencer, we can program our drums. Let's hit the play button. Add a closed hi-hat, open hat, now if you're like me, you like mixing all of your drums to separate channels, and if we click on this drop down button here, we'll see the I/O device. Anywhere you see a drop down button, you can either collapse or expand a device, or you can also show a context menu like so. And it'll give you different options for whatever it corresponds to. Now to get these to separate, audio channels in your DAW. It's going to be different depending on your DAW, but the reason rack steps will remain the same. So we can hit this button here to flip to the back of the rack, or you can hit tab on your keyboard. Here you see all the outputs. We have audio outputs here, and we have some CV outputs here. What we're going to focus on are the audio outputs, sorry. So I want to actually disconnect this for right now. This clap, let's actually keep this connected. And I'm going to demonstrate something to you. This kick right here, let's pan it to the left. You hear it in the left now. This clap, I'm going to pan it to the right. And now it's in the right. Now if we want these to go to separate mix channels, I'm going to move this, which was the clap, the right wire over to 3 and 4. Now they're mono again. So this is how we're going to get these signals out separately, by panning them in the Kong to the separate outputs. This hi-hat, let's pan this to the left, and this open hi-hat, let's pan this to the right. You'll then notice a problem quickly. It's coming out of the same channels as the kick and the snare. So we're going to navigate down to the drum output section here in Kong. Change this to 3 and 4, and the same for the open hat. By the way, if you would like to know more about Kong, definitely check out that reason manual or watch some other videos on my channel. 3 is going to go here, and we're going to move 6 to 7 and 8. Hope that doesn't confuse too many people. Kick, snare, open hi-hat, closed hat. Now setting this up in your DAW will look different depending on what you use. I am in Ableton Live 10, so let's set this up. We're going to take audio from the Reason Rack plugin, and we're going to pick which channel we want to take it from. In this case, before we even get there, in the Reason Rack, there is a crucial step you need to take. These red LEDs, we're going to turn them off so that they do not go to the main output. Now here with our first one, let's play this pattern. We now hear our kick, and let's figure out this next one. Reason Rack plugin, our kick is coming through here again. Let's change this, 3 and 4. Reason Rack plugin, 5 and 6. Reason Rack plugin, 7 and 8. Now we have all 4 of our drum samples going through separate channels in our DAW. Now, if you're going to be using Reason regularly to program your drums, I recommend setting up all of the channel settings in your DAW as a template so you don't have to do that consistently with every new track you make. Now, Kong has some effects that are already inside of it that we can access here. But for the purposes of this video, let's go ahead and grab some different effects. Let's use echo. On second thought, I don't want to add reverb to my drums. So if we want to replace this, we can easily drag a different device on top of it to replace it. And we can also move these around if we want to in order. We can click on it, right click, and cut the device to delete it. You can hit this undo button to bring it back. There's also a redo button. Let's hear what this sounds like on our drums. Now, I think that is really harsh. So let's bring down the damage control a bit. Now, on second thought, I only want to use this on my snare. So I'm gonna get rid of this scream, and let's create an instance of the Reason Rack effect plugin on our snare channel. Alright, now we have the effect plugin on the snare channel. Let's add an effect. Browse effects. Let's go with scream and drum processing. I want to try this grit boost and see what it sounds like. That sounds really dope to me. And the browser works similar to how the instrument browser works with choosing presets. Let's go ahead and try a different effect. Let's add an Audiomatic. Alright, cool. I like how that sounds. Let's add an instrument. So, my second MIDI track here, let's add Reason again. I would now like to add a synth to my pattern. So I'm in another instance of the Reason Rack plugin, and let's go ahead and grab Thor. Gonna click on this browse patch folder, and let's find a voice or a choir. Maybe we'll like something from here. On second thought, I don't necessarily want to browse Thor patches, so let's go into Reason Sounds here. And in Reason Sounds, we'll find a variety of things. Let's find a bell. Bell Foundry. Bell Nova. Another way we can go through these patches is by hitting this down arrow. Or you can do it here. Let's try this music box repatch by double clicking. Whoops, I moved. It's down here. I really love this patch in Europa, so I'm gonna go with this one. Now we can add another player if we want to go with this dual arpeggio. Pick a preset. We can go with the scales and chords device. We can go with a no echo. And if you have any of the devices from Suite, you can go with one of those as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the browser a little bit more. Now, besides the instruments that come with the Reason Rack, and the effects that come with the Reason Rack, and the players, there are some utilities that you have access to, like a dual LFO, an arpeggiator, and matrix, the audio merger CV. All of these things you have access to. A line mixer, if you would like to get more intricate with your mixes, inside with your individual sounds, you can add these mixers, and then also utilize those in companion with the I/O device. Keep in mind, if you're working on a drum pattern or anything like that and you would like more than the 8 output devices, simply create another instance of the Rack plugin. I would like to layer this sound here in Europa with something else, so I'm gonna go back to the Reason Sounds. Plucked mallet, let's go with another bell, and I'm just gonna add it underneath it. Now we can quickly create some really big sounds. If we wanted to mix these separately, we can do that by adding a utility. Now there are a few utilities. There's the Combinator, Pulsar, Dual LFO, Arpeggiate, Matrix, Spider devices, and 2 mixer devices. And your devices might look different depending on what you own. But let's go with a Line 6.2 mixer device, which has an option for 6 different outputs. And let's go ahead and put this at the top. Gonna flip to the back of the rack, and I want to take this out of here. Whoops. Let's disconnect all of these things here. We'll start with a fresh slate. Let's take the master out of this line mixer and put it into the main outputs here. Not over here. This was the first place I looked though. Europa, let's drag this up into here, audio in the mixer, so that we can change the volume with this mixer. Now we could have easily done this with each individual volume knob on each device, but this makes it really quick with everything at the top. So flipping to the back again, I'm going to route this audio output of subtractor, which is a mono device, into 2. And I'm going to route this output here of this combinator into 3. And the output here into 4. Now we have our instruments all on separate channels inside here, so that we can layer them however we like and mix them however we would like. Let's say I want to add an EQ to this last sound here. Now it's already a combinator, and I can just drop an EQ inside of it. So let's do that. Gonna go with the the M class equalizer and put it at the end of this chain. And I would like a low cut and a low shelf. Gonna bring down the frequency. And let's try a high shelf also. And let's go ahead and solo this so that I can hear it by itself. Just did that so that you can hear the sweeping and the resonance and know that it's actually doing something. But let's just keep it like that. Let's say we have a device like the subtractor and it's not in a combinator. Let's go ahead and solo this one. This is the second device. Turn this one off. Definitely want to get rid of some of this low end. I'm going to right click on it and combine it. It's going to put it in a combinator so that I can add an EQ. Now there's a variety of EQs that exist within the Reason shop. I'm going to go with Synapse. This will allow me to see the information, whereas the M class doesn't show the low frequency, doesn't show the spectrum actually is what I meant to say. This plugin shows the spectrum, whereas the M class equalizer does not. Now I hear a lot of air in here, and I can also move the low cutoff. Let's get a high cut in here as well, and we can move it. Now it sounds really filtered out. And I can layer it with this. Let's pan this to the left. And let's take this, pan it to the right. Let's move this in a little bit more because it's lower in frequency. And this one, pan it to the right a bit. Now we have a really big sound here. So if you want to process any instruments separately inside of your layered stack, just combine it and then you can add the individual effects to that combinator. Now I have another video on how to use combinator devices, so definitely check that out. I'll put it up in the cards. Few more things I would like to go over, so let's go ahead and do that. Here in the browser, you do have instruments effects, utilities, which we just went over one of them. We have players. We have our individual libraries, Reason sounds, orchestra sounds, factory sounds, drum supply, loop supply, and any individual rack extensions we get will populate in this area as review. We can also add our own favorites. Now here I have added all of my personally crafted drum kits and my preset banks. If you would like to do the same thing, hit this plus icon. Let's call it Rack Life. I'll drag it up a little bit. And now I can start adding presets to this folder. So let's say in factory sounds, I really like that deep house preset that we used before. I'm going to put this in Rack Life. And let's go back out. In Quartet, I want to use this noise adder plugin right here. So I want to use this noise adder preset. So I'm going to put this in there as well. And anything I add in here will be in this favorites section right here. To close off this tutorial, I would like to demonstrate some control voltage stuff. So I am going to add another instance of the Reason Rack plugin. And let's go with bass. So let's go Reason Sounds, bass. I want to go with an electric bass sound. And this bass guitar patch will probably be incredible. And it is as I expected. So demonstrating some CV, let's flip to the back of this rack and we see all of the CV inputs here. I would like to modulate something using control voltage. So let's go ahead and add an instance of the subtractor, which is also an instrument, but you'll see why in a second. I'm going to hold down shift and create it. Let's go ahead and take this LFO1 and put it into CVN1 here on this Europa. Gonna flip to the front. Now here in source, gonna click on CV1. Gonna turn it all the way up. And I want the destination to go to, let's say, filter cutoff. So filter frequency. And now this LFO will control the filter cutoff. If you would like more information on CV, I'll drop yet another video in the cards for you to check out and learn a lot on CV using the Reason Rack plugin. Let's change the rate. Now you can utilize CV on just about any device except the IDA as one of the first ones I could think about. So just flip to the back of the rack and explore that if that's something you're interested in. To close out this video, I would like to say that something I mentioned before, if you would like more Reason devices, you can go into the propeller head. If you would like more Reason devices, you can go into the Reason Studio shop and purchase more Reason devices. There's also a plethora of devices available for free. I'll have another card for you to click on if you would like to access some free devices and an easy way to let you know what's free at the moment. Secondly, in the Reason shop, you'll also find Reason refills, which are only accessible using the Reason plugin at the moment. In those Reason refills, you will find patches that you can use that will correspond to the devices in the Reason rack. So there will be presets, just like Serum has presets that you can't use in, let's say, Nexus or Omnisphere. Those Reason refills will only be accessible in the Reason Rack plugin or in Reason the DAW itself. The last thing I would like to mention is that 90% of my channel is dedicated to Reason tutorials within the DAW itself. And you can easily apply that knowledge in the Reason Rack as long as it doesn't involve the Reason sequencer, which is in Reason. Everything else is the same. The last thing I would like to mention is that I have tons of Reason tutorials on my channel that are based inside of Reason as a DAW, but you can easily apply that knowledge in the Rack plugin. So definitely don't be scared to venture off and watch some of my other videos. With that being said, it's all culture. Kick back, cook up.